Hey guys. Welcome to the Tesla shareholder meeting. And I just want to start off by saying, hot damn, I love you guys.
6月13号，特斯拉2024年股东大会在美国德克萨斯超级工厂召开。马斯克跟我们分享了特斯拉未来的发展。特斯拉自动驾驶正在以惊人的速度发展，无人出租车将给汽车拥有者创造被动收入。Optimus 擎天柱机器人将改变人类的生活方式。特斯拉的超级充电网络以及能源存储部署正在继续增长。硬件5设计完成，预计在大约18个月内部署在特斯拉汽车中。接下来，让我们一起进入会议，听听马斯克是怎么说的。
We have the most awesome shareholder base. I mean, it's just incredible. Any public company, it's incredible. Wow. We've got a great sort of shareholder meeting here to recap the achievements of the company and tell you about where we're going. And I think it's incredible. I think we're not just opening a new chapter for Tesla, we're starting a new book. Okay. So those of you who have been following Tesla closely understand, like you get it, you know? So like important thing is you get it. I mean, it's where things are going, I think is just going to be absolutely mind-blowing. We're obviously making great progress in solving the sustainable energy problem, with electric vehicles, with stationary storage, with solar, and then I think in terms of the value of the company, autonomy is just such a mind-blowing thing that, like I said, you guys understand, but I think most of the world does not yet understand. So, in talking to a lot of the sort of the big institutional investors, when they're often in like New York and they don't drive cars, so I'll be like, have you driven our car? Or have you tried self-driving? The version 12.3, and they're like, oh no, okay. Well, you should try it. That would be a good thing to do. And if you just plot the points on the curve of how well autonomy is progressing, and just believe the curve, it's headed towards unsupervised full self-driving very quickly at an exponential pace. If you just, yeah, it's. I mean, yeah. So. It's really as simple as that. And in fact, I'd invite you to just do it personally. Just say, okay, with each release, how many miles do you drive before you have to intervene? It's like literally that simple. With each release, you'll see there's a big improvement, and it looks like an exponential. So, and it's very clear that will actually go to the point where it is actually far safer than a person driving the car. And I have some insight into the next releases, because we've got basically for every release that's on the road, we kind of see what the next generation release is and a little bit about the release after that. So we have some insight into where it's going, and it's really amazing. No question whatsoever that will far exceed human safety. Yeah, no question. So, and I think I have mentioned this, but like sometimes it's like helpful to sort of reiterate and connect some of the dots, because sometimes people wonder, well, how do you go from this big fleet to actually monetizing the fleet in an autonomous situation? And it's actually a combination of it's like Airbnb and Uber to some degree. So like there'll be some cars that Tesla owns itself, and it's kind of like an Uber fashion. But then for the fleet that is owned by our customers, it will be like an Airbnb thing. You can add or subtract your car to the fleet whenever you want. So you can say, like, I'm going away for a week. At just one tap on your Tesla app, your car gets added to the fleet, and it just makes money for you while you're gone. Yeah. So you can say you can add it to the fleet for a few hours, for a few days, for a few weeks. Whenever you want it back, you can say come back, and the car will come right back. And I'm highly confident that it will far exceed the value, like the revenue made by the owner of the car will far exceed the actual monthly payment. And then Tesla will obviously take a rev share on that, but most of the money will go to the owner of the car. And this is actually going to work. This is what will happen. So I mean, mark my words.
特斯拉计划通过其全自动驾驶技术，使车主能够将他们的汽车加入到一个自动驾驶出租车车队中，从而在他们不使用汽车时创造被动收入。这个概念类似于 Airbnb 的模式，车主可以通过特斯拉应用程序轻松地将自己的汽车加入自动驾驶出租车车队。一旦汽车加入车队，它就可以在车主不使用时自动接单运营，为车主创造被动收入。特斯拉将从这些自动驾驶出租车服务中抽取一定比例作为服务费，剩余的大部分收入将归属车主所有。车主通过这种方式获得的收入可能会远远超过他们每月支付的汽车贷款。随着自动驾驶软件 FSD 技术的不断进步，这些自动驾驶出租车将能够提供更安全、更可靠的服务，从而吸引更多乘客使用。马斯克对这项服务的潜力持乐观态度，认为这将为特斯拉车主带来显著的经济利益。总的来说，这种模式可能会改变人们对汽车所有权和使用的看法，将汽车从单纯的交通工具转变为能够产生收入的资产。不过，其实现还需要监管环境的配合，以及市场对这种新服务的广泛接受。
This is simply a matter of time. Now, admittedly, I'm a little optimistic sometimes. So I don't have complete lack of self-awareness. But if I wasn't optimistic, this wouldn't exist. This factory wouldn't exist. So. I mentioned this before, but like for ARK Invest, I'd recommend reading the ARK Invest analysis. That's the most accurate. There may be more accurate ones, but the most accurate sort of analysis of the potential of autonomy. The most accurate that I'm aware of is Kathy Wood's ARK Invest. And if I recall correctly, they predicted somewhere over a $5 trillion valuation for Tesla just based on vehicle autonomy, not counting Optimus. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. So I think just based on vehicle autonomy, we can 10x, more than 10x the value of the company. I believe that's what will happen. Yeah, no, it's just what do you know? It's 4:20 p.m. I just noticed that. So I think that's actually, I think that's pretty accurate. But it actually gets way crazier when you think about the Optimus robot, which is really a humanoid robot that is intended to be able to do anything you want it to do, to be your companion. It can be at your house. It can sort of babysit your kids. It could teach them. It could be a teacher. It can do factory stuff. I think that the ultimate ratio of, you say, how many super useful humanoid helper droids do you want? Like, who doesn't want a C-3PO? But a C-3PO plus R2-D2 plus plus. It would be pretty awesome. I think I think everyone in the world is going to want one, like literally everyone. And then there will be obviously robots in industry, making stuff, and so I mean I think the ratio of humanoid robots to humans will probably be at least 2 to 1, something like that. 1 to 1 for sure. So which means like somewhere on the order of 10 billion humanoid robots, maybe 20 or 30, and so then it's like, okay, well, let's say, you know, you kind of make, let's say the build rate is, I think the build rate will be probably something ultimately like 1 billion a year, humanoid robots, like actually. And if Tesla just has a 10% share of that, and it might be a lot more than 10%, and there's, you know, we make like 100 million Optimus units a year. I mean, for reference, the auto industry is roughly 100 million vehicles per year. So that, you know, sort of similar ballpark, at least within an order of magnitude. And
Optimus 是特斯拉公司开发的一种先进的人形机器人。这款机器人集成了公司在多个前沿技术领域的最新成果，包括人工智能、计算机视觉、传感器阵列、运动控制、自主导航等，旨在打造一款功能强大、安全可靠的通用机器人。在人工智能方面 ，Optimus 将采用特斯拉在这一领域的最新进展，赋予其执行复杂任务和自主学习的能力。在计算机视觉方面，它将使用高级的视觉系统，能够识别周围环境，理解物体的位置和属性，并进行精准导航。此外 ，Optimus 配备了丰富的触摸、力和距离传感器阵列，可以感知操作环境，与物体进行交互。在运动控制方面 ，Optimus 将具备精细的操控能力，能够执行复杂的手动任务，如抓取、搬运和使用工具。同时，它还拥有强大的自主导航能力，可以在环境中自主移动，规避障碍物，到达指定位置完成任务。Optimus 还将搭载特斯拉自主开发的高效计算芯片，为其提供强大的计算能力，同时保持低能耗，并保证了机器人的可扩展性，可以快速迭代和升级，以适应不断变化的需求。同时，特斯拉在设计中将确保 Optimus 机器人的安全，避免对人类或环境构成威胁。特斯拉强大的生产能力将用于大规模生产 Optimus， 降低成本，提高可及性。总的来说 ，Optimus 的开发是一个复杂而全面的过程，涉及多个前沿技术领域。特斯拉的目标是打造出一款通用型机器人，为工业、家庭和其他环境提供广泛的帮助和服务。
I think we could make one for a cost of maybe at really high scale of about $10,000. It's smaller. It'll be less expensive than a car. So, and I think if you sell for $20,000 or something, this is at large scale volume. Tesla would basically make about $1 trillion of profit a year from that. So, yeah. If the price earnings multiple is, say, I don't know, 20 or 25, something like that, that would mean a $20 trillion market cap from Optimus alone. And probably 5 to 10 from autonomous vehicles. So, like, I think it's actually conceivable, it's within the realm of possibility for Tesla to achieve a valuation 10 times that of the most valuable company today. So when I say this is like we're starting a new book, I mean, it's going to be the best book. Next level, next level. Now we need to make sure these robots are nice to us, and you know, that's very important. Yeah. So anyway, so with that, let me get into the presentation. Blah 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 blah. Oh man. I think it might be worth us just putting a word limit on future shareholder Tesla proposals. It's like you can't have like a novel length, you know. It's kind of like you can't have a whole novel as a Tesla proposal. So anyway, as you can see, our impact is accelerating. We're starting to make a real noticeable dent in carbon emissions. So we're really making a lot of progress towards achieving our goal of sustainability. And one of the effects of autonomy is going to be an even greater effect on carbon emissions, because I suspect that we'll go from passenger cars having about 10 hours of usage per week, about an hour and a half per day, to probably a third of the hours in the week, maybe 50, 55 hours, which means the same car will be used 5 times more often. So you need a certain amount of resources to make the car, but it'll have 5 times the usage, in my opinion. I think that's quite likely, which will be an even more dramatic impact on carbon emissions. So, we care a lot about sustainable manufacturing. Our factories are beautiful. Like, you walk around the factory, it's actually, contrary to these, like, what you read in the press, it's like a good vibe in the factory. Like, people are smiling and happy. It's like, it's nice. So yeah. We do care. We actually do care a lot at Tesla about doing the right thing, and we're not going to be perfect, but we do care a lot about doing the right thing. So our vehicles are water efficient, energy efficient. We try whenever possible to use renewables for powering the factory, and do our best to do the right thing. Our batteries are lasting a lot longer. I got too many things in my hand. Anyway, the batteries are lasting a lot longer, which is good. Safety is good in the factory. We're improving the affordability of EVs. Model Y is comparable to a BMW X3, but its actual cost of ownership on a monthly basis is much lower. We were #1 in EVs globally last year, so yeah. So, yeah. So let's see. And congrats to the Tesla team on making 6 million vehicles all time. So the Tesla fleet is really becoming very substantial. I mean, it's going to be 7 million vehicles by the end of this year, over 7 million vehicles. So, and our factory in Fremont is currently the highest volume auto factory in North America. So, and we broke the prior production record from when it was NUMMI. So it's actually pretty wild that we have a giant car factory in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's not exactly the cheapest place to have a car factory. It's like that in the Swiss Alps or something, But we still managed to make great cars at high volume, and that's a testament to the great team we've got in Fremont. So congrats to the Fremont team. And a lot of people were saying the Cybertruck is like fake; it's never going to come out. Now we're shipping a lot of Cybertrucks. We hit a weekly record of 1,300. And I think that with the Cybertruck, it really is something special. Like, people sometimes have like different opinions on the Cybertruck, but if you really want to know if something is cool, if it's a great product, like, show it to a kid, okay? Like, no filter, okay? The kid's got like no filter, like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, something like that, or even 3-year-old, and say, which car do you like? Cybertruck. So it's like, that's how you know. It's finally something that it just looks like the future. And it drives so well. It's comfortable. It's just a fantastic product. I think it's our best product, and it's a lot of innovation. It's got a 48 volts low voltage system. Finally, instead of 12 volts, 800 volt drivetrain, the world's biggest castings. It's bulletproof. All the cool things. Can outpull a F350 diesel, which is a very impressive truck, and it can it can do a quarter mile faster than a Porsche 911 while towing a Porsche 911. So that's insane. So yeah. And if you think about it, like how often do companies make products that move your heart, that are really special? It's so rare, and I think this is one of them. So yeah. And we launched the upgraded 3, which is actually a fantastic car. I recommend trying it out. It's really a great car. And it's only $216 after gas savings, like total cost of ownership. It's basically $200 and something when compared to a gasoline car, a similar gasoline car. So it's really a great deal and a fun car. And the performance, Model 3 performance is, well, it's like, faster than Porsche 911. It's just a great car. So, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. And of course, Model Y became the best-selling vehicle globally. And this is something that we predicted. I think I said in like 2022, Model Y would be the biggest car in the world by dollar volume sales, and that 2023 it would be the biggest in unit volume, and it was. Again, this year it will be the best-selling car on Earth. So, yeah. Obviously we've got the Tesla Semi. We're in low volume production of the Tesla Semi, and just last week I approved the plans for volume production of the Tesla Semi. So we're going to make a lot of semi-trucks. We're going to start off with, it's something, I think it'll actually move the needle financially. It's not like it's not a small thing. And the thing about commercial vehicles is that companies that use them are super objective. It's not like, it's actually, I mean, obviously we're going to make it have cool style and be an awesome car. But for commercial vehicles, the companies that make the buying decisions, they just look at it and say, like, what are the numbers? Like, is this cost less to transport or cost more to transport than say, a diesel truck? And the thing is that the economics are much better than a diesel truck. It's kind of basically a no-brainer. If you're a transport company, you don't use the Tesla electric Semi, you're just losing money. Why would you do that? Do you not like money? Okay. But if you do like money, then I recommend using the Tesla Semi. And so I think this is really going to actually sell at a scale that people will be surprised at, and will actually move the needle financially and do a lot of good, and also for CO2 and sustainability, because semis are driven all the time. Actually, even at much smaller numbers, they have a very big effect on total carbon emissions solved. So obviously we've got some new products that we're working on under the covers. And I think these are, I think these are going to be pretty special. So, you know, some of them, I think people maybe at first may think, oh, it's not going to be that amazing, but just wait. It will be. So. So our supercharger network is continuing to grow. You know, rumors of the death of the supercharger are greatly exaggerated. We are, in fact, continuing to grow the supercharger network significantly. In fact, this year, I think we'll deploy more superchargers this year that are actually working than the rest of industry combined. Just FYI. So now we are going to be more careful about, like, you know, the capital efficiency of where we deploy superchargers. But for sure, any place that has congestion, any sort of missing parts of the map that we're missing, we're going to put the superchargers there. So even for the remainder of the year, we expect to spend about $500 million on supercharger deployment. So it's very significant, and it'd be a well-spent $500 million. So this is, you know, it's a lot. So, and this is actually not showing a bunch of new markets that will be opening up later this year and next. So we're obviously we want Tesla to be worldwide, and this is a lot of countries that we, you know, have 0 to very few Teslas, and we obviously we want Tesla everywhere. So there are a lot of new markets that we're going to open up later this year and next. We're also opening the superchargers to other companies with the that's the adapter to the old somewhat clunky connector. But our goal is to be helpful to other car companies. So any other car companies that are going electric, we do want to be helpful to them with our supercharger network. So we're providing them with adapters and enabling them to have access to the Tesla supercharging network because we think it's better to do that than to create a walled garden that inhibits EV growth. Oops, there was a bit of latency here. And we're also innovating a lot in battery production with the 4680 that's built right here. And it's a hard problem, you know. Like there are entire companies that just make battery cells. That's all they do. But we're making good progress. Like all the Cybertrucks that you see use the Tesla 4680 cell. We have a clear path to the 4680 being, we think, probably the most competitive cell from a manufacturing efficiency standpoint. And so it is a hard problem, I have to say. There's quite a lot of brain damage required to be good at cell manufacturing. It's like a brain damage high. But I think it does give Tesla resilience in the face of if there are changes in the, I don't know, geopolitical situation somehow. But it's good to have some independence in cell manufacturing. Yeah, and we're making steady progress, and we also have the cathode refinery, which you can see behind the main factory. So you can sort of see it in the picture there. That's a cathode refinery, and then we've got the lithium refinery in South Texas. And so we're just making sure we've kind of got the pieces of the puzzle. I mean, if you were to look at sort of a video of how Tesla does, say, cathode and lithium refining and how the rest of industry does it, it's night and day. I mean, you can sort of eat off the floor in the Tesla refinery, and I would not recommend doing so in the others. So, you know, we're definitely going very, very vertical here. But I think this is it's a wise investment that will pay off more than people realize. So. I don't think this thing's working. So this year, we're also on track to complete a massive number of energy deployments. So that is a gigantic increase in deployment capability. We seem to be tracking to sort of a 200% to 300% year-over-year growth in energy storage deployment in stationary pack. So it's giant. And the limiting factor really is being able to build more megapacks and build more Powerwalls. So we're ramping up production of the Powerwall 3, which is really a game changer for at the personal level. The Powerwall 3, it usually takes about 3 iterations of any given technology to really for it to be something where it's like, okay, now we're really hitting the sweet spot. So Powerwall 3 is like an epic product. The Megapack is also, I'd call it sort of iteration 2 of the Megapack is also an epic product. With the Megapack 3, which is, I don't know, probably a couple years away, we'll start actually absorbing more and more of the substation of the sort of power electronics. So, because I sort of think you want to get to the point with the Megapack where you can literally just take the high voltage power lines and plug them in. There's no substation. We just plug them in. Just drop them down and drop it down and plug it in. And now it works. Which is like mind blowing for the utility industry, by the way. Like, they're like, what? Yeah, you just plug the wires in and it'll work. For very high voltage. So that I think is actually going to be a major. So this is anyway. So yeah, this is great. Excellent work by the energy storage team. So.
Megapack 是特斯拉公司开发的一种大规模能源存储系统，它设计用于提供高达3兆瓦时的能量存储能力，可以扩展到数十甚至数百兆瓦时，以满足大规模电网的需求。Megapack 的设计目的是为公用事业、商业和工业客户提供一种可靠、可持续的能源存储解决方案，以支持可再生能源的整合，提高电网的弹性和效率。Megapack 系统的主要特点包括高容量，单个 Megapack 可以存储大量能量，适合大规模能源项目。模块化设计 ，Megapack 采用模块化设计，便于运输、安装和扩展。快速部署，由于其模块化特性 ，Megapack 可以快速部署。加速项目实施，高效率 Megapack 具有高能量转换效率，减少能量损失。持久耐用，设计为长期稳定运行，即使在极端环境下也能保持性能。集成控制 Megapack 配备有集成的电池管理系统和电力电子设备，易于监控和控制。马斯克提到了 Megapack 的发展和生产情况，强调了特斯拉在能源存储领域的进展和 Megapack 在提高能源存储部署能力方面的重要性。
Services and other are also looking good, so we're actually now making money on the services and other stuff. So this is kind of a big deal. Right? Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, and Tesla's obviously way more than a car company. We do a lot of software at Tesla. About, I don't know, roughly half or a very huge percentage of the engineering we do is actually software engineering. So Tesla's, I'd say, as much a software company as it is a hardware company. This is a very big deal because car companies are not software companies normally. So this matters a lot. So things like our Orbiter software for energy storage, all of the software that controls the cars, the Megapacks, the Powerwalls, the solar, obviously for AI and full self-driving are a big deal, insurance, service and collision. Tesla also writes a lot of software internally that helps, that like we call like the Tesla operating system internally, that is head and shoulders above what any other company has. I think probably better than any Fortune 500 company. The Tesla internal software is just way better. So it's just far more than what people normally think of as a car company. And Tesla is also the leader in real-world AI. So there's really, this is a big deal. Like Tesla is ahead of Google, Meta, OpenAI, anyone on real-world software, actually taking in video and making decisions based on video. No one is even close. And it's getting better, I say, with each passing month, if not each passing week. So, yeah. And it's also worth noting that Tesla is actually pretty good at chip design. So the AI inference chip that was designed by Tesla that's in cars, we had sort of our hardware 3 AI inference cars made over the past year have the hardware 4. We've just completed design on hardware 5, which we're now calling AI 5, because it really is. There still actually is not a chip from NVIDIA or and I have a lot of respect for NVIDIA, from any company that we would prefer to put in our car that is better than what we have in the car. So, we started from scratch in chip design, just as we started from scratch in AI software, and have the best real-world AI software and the best AI inference chip in the world from nothing. So this is, a big deal. And the capability of the chips in the car is dramatic. Like, I mean, right now, all the cars are actually training. Like we have hardware 4 run hardware 3 in emulation mode. So we'll continue to make significant progress in hardware 3, but later this year we'll actually bifurcate, continue working on hardware 3, so on training on hardware 3, but then do separate training on hardware 4. That'll be the sort of training cluster that we're building at the south side of the Gigafactory, and that'll be dedicated hardware 4 video and inference, and so the hardware 4 has cameras that have about 4 or 5 times better resolution, and depending on how you count the sort of hardware 4, it's about anywhere from 3 to 8 times better than hardware 3. So, but everything you're seeing thus far is just hardware 3, and we still have a long way to go before we reach the limits of hardware 3. So hardware 3, I think will do amazing things, but hardware 4, I think will probably do about 5 times better. Then hardware 5, which comes out in about 18 months or so, is 10 times more capable than hardware 4. It's like sort of, if you know NVIDIA hardware, it's sort of a B200。
马斯克所说的硬件5，也就是 Hardware 5，也称为 AI 5，是特斯拉为其自动驾驶系统开发的下一代人工智能推理芯片。它是继 Hardware 3和 Hardware 4之后的迭代产品，旨在提供更高的计算能力和更高效的能源使用，以支持特斯拉汽车中的全自动驾驶功能。与前一代 Hardware 4相比， Hardware 5预计将有显著的性能提升，能够处理更加复杂的自动驾驶任务。同时，它被设计为高度节能，这对于移动应用如自动驾驶汽车和人形机器人至关重要。通过更高的集成度， Hardware 5将多个功能集成到单一芯片上，提高了效率和可靠性。Hardware 5的目标是支持更高级别的自主性，使特斯拉的汽车能够更接近或实现完全自动驾驶。它将与特斯拉的自动驾驶软件紧密集成，以实现最佳的性能和功能。马斯克表示 ，Hardware 5将是一个巨大的进步，预计在大约18个月内部署在特斯拉的所有汽车中。特斯拉在 AI 芯片设计方面的自主能力，使其能够针对自身需求定制硬件。Hardware 5的推出将进一步巩固其在自动驾驶技术领域的领导地位，为实现更高级别的自动驾驶功能提供关键的硬件支持。
Now, Hardware 5 will be able to go probably up to about 700 or 800 watts, but it'll power fluctuate contingent upon the complexity of the scene that it is in. So if it is in a parking lot stationary, it's like you don't have to think very much. Just like a person. Like if you're in a complicated traffic scenario, you've got to think a lot more than if you're just cruising along, on an empty road. But something that I think is potentially interesting down the road is, like at some point, the Tesla fleet, I think, will probably be, over 100 million vehicles. And if each vehicle has a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, I think there's sort of an Amazon Web Services, AWS type opportunity, because if you've got 100 million vehicles with a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, you've got 100 gigawatts of compute. Like 100 gigawatts of compute is a lot, and it's distributed all over the world. So when the car is not in autonomous mode, which I think probably is, or doing Robotaxi work maybe 50, 60 hours a week, but at 100 hours a week, it's not. It's probably stationary. So there's 100 hours of 100 gigawatts of inference compute, which I think we should use. Why not? When people looked at Amazon, which started out obviously as an online bookseller, and it's done, has grown to be like this incredible place where you can buy anything, and then Amazon Web Services, like, well, they got all these computers that only really see peak usage sometimes, but what are they going to do when it's not peak usage? And sometimes the Amazon servers are down like 10%. So that's when they said, well, let's do Amazon Web Services. And then Amazon Web Services became more valuable than the entire rest of Amazon. And anyway, I think there's some kind of opportunity there that's pretty significant for Tesla down the road. Again, that's really, nobody's really factoring that in. But I think that actually will be quite significant. We also are no longer compute constrained for training. So I check in with the team. It's like, is there anything we could do to improve the pace of progress with respect to training and inference? And currently that is not the limiting factor. In fact, the limiting factor right now is that the amount of miles between interventions is so long that it takes quite a while to figure out which version is better than the other version, because none of them are requiring any interventions. So it's like, if you start getting to like thousands of miles between interventions, or you're like 10,000 miles to get an intervention, then the average person only drives about 10,000 miles in a year. And if it's in an urban environment, and the average speed is 20 miles an hour, so our professional test drivers get pretty bored, frankly. They're like, okay, I drove all week and there was no intervention. Like the highlight of the week would be like, yes, an intervention, finally. It's like getting to that point. So this is where actually having a giant fleet is extremely important, because we can deploy a new FSD model and run it in shadow mode and see how well it performs. Compare how the human drives the car versus the new self-driving build, and then analyze that delta in shadow mode, like the shadow knows, or doesn't know, as the case may be, and then be able to assess by getting billions of miles very quickly with the giant fleet. Like that, basically, that data engine is incredibly helpful. Like actually, it's not possible to solve the self-driving problem without having millions of vehicles on the road. So that's actually is like figuring out clever ways to test how good the next FSD build is actually the limiting factor right now. And then of course, like I said, we are building another training data center right here, which will be dedicated to hardware 4 training. So we'll bifurcate hardware 3 and hardware 4 training later this year. We'll keep improving hardware 3, but we're going to uncork the full capability of hardware 4 as well. So, yeah. And I think most people here have tried out version 12. We did say like unsupervised full self-driving would be version 12. So we are actually just keeping the version arbitrarily at 12, and then like calling it 12.4, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5. But it's actually really like version 13, version 14. But anyway, it's just an arbitrary designation. So 12.4 is actually like a whole different version than 12.3, and 12.5 is a whole different version than 12.4. So you'll see really giant improvements, I think sometimes factor of 10 improvements between successive versions. And then, as I mentioned, the way it'll work for the existing fleet is you'll be able to add or subtract your car to the fleet as you'd like. And there will also be Tesla-owned cars. So it'll be a combination of like Uber plus Airbnb. But it'll be pretty wild that there'll be a software update, and then the whole fleet suddenly becomes accessible. It's like suddenly you've got 7 million, 10 million cars that can, ultimately tens of millions of cars that can do autonomous driving, and instead of being used 10 hours a week, can be used 50 or 60 hours a week. So it's pretty wild to just be in Palo Alto with a bunch of cubes, and then a humanoid robot just walks past. We've made a massive amount of progress with Optimus in a short period of time, from someone pretending to be a robot dancing in a suit, to a pretty hodgepodgey robot, to a robot that is actually doing useful tasks in the factory today. So we have 2 Optimus robots in our Fremont factory that are doing basically this task, which is taking cells off the end of the line and placing them in a shipping container. And yeah, we actually have quite a few of these cruising around our offices in Palo Alto. So there's, and I think we've got kind of like one major hardware revision, which should be done by end of this year or early next, and then we'll move into a limited production next year of Optimus. Limited production for use in our factories, where we'll test out the product, kind of, as I say, sort of eat our own dog food, or whatever the electronic equivalent of that is. But I think like next year, my prediction is next year we'll have over 1,000, maybe a few thousand Optimus robots working at Tesla. And things are going to scale up very rapidly from there. So we'll iron out the bugs. Like the degree of autonomy will be radically better. You'll just literally be able to talk to it and say, please do this task, or I'm going to show you something. Now do the thing that I'm showing you. Get to the point where it can watch a video of something like a person and then learn just by looking at that video and do that task. So, yeah. So really it's going to be quite something. And I'm confident of the prediction that there will be more, like the ratio of humanoid robots to humans will be greater than 1 to 1. So that there'll be, more than 10 billion humanoid robots in the world, probably 20 or more. And Tesla's going to be by far the leader in that. You're seeing a lot of robot startups, but I think it's actually very challenging to do Optimus as a robot startup, because what we found to make Optimus work we've had to design from first principles, from scratch, every part of the robot. So the motor, the gearbox, the sensors, the power electronics, the communication system, everything had to be done from scratch. We found that there's basically nothing, there's no supply chain. So even though there are many electric motors made in the world, there's no supply chain for the types of motors and sensors and gearboxes that are needed for a humanoid robot. I mean, what you're seeing here is our current generation hand and arm, but our next which has 11 degrees of freedom. Our next generation has 22 degrees of freedom. It will be able to play the piano. So it's really like, wow. Now, of course, like I said, we need to make sure we don't have the Terminator scenario. That's very important. Safety of the humanoid robot will be very important. But because it requires so much ground-up designing every motor, gearbox, sensor, power electronics from scratch, it's very hard for a startup to, if not impossible, for a startup to replicate that. But at Tesla, we have the world's best electrical engineering. I think we've got the world's best mechanical engineering for gearboxes and for electric motors, power electronics. We have the resources to do that. It applies quite well. And then you also have to have the brain. You need a power-efficient inference computer, which we've got for the car, and we'll be using an Optimus. You need AI. You need to be the best in real-world AI, and Tesla's the best in real-world AI. So you need all of these. You need a very strong hand of cards in order to make a compelling robot. And then you also need to be very good at scale manufacturing. So in order to have the robot not cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars, in order to make it cost like $10,000 or $20,000, you actually need to design for manufacturing and be very good at manufacturing. And in my experience, prototypes are easy compared to volume manufacturing. Prototypes are easy, production is hard, relatively speaking. So Tesla has the production capability, it has the engineering capability, and it has the AI hardware and software capability. And even the most optimistic estimates that I've seen for Optimus, the optimist, I think undercount the magnitude of what this robot will be able to do. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, I agree with the ARK Invest analysis that autonomous transport is called sort of a $5 to $7 trillion market cap situation. Optimus, I think, is a literally $25 trillion market cap situation. So. Now, I don't want to trivialize what's necessary to get there. I mean, it's an immense amount of work that is required to get there, like super difficult. But we are moving very fast down that road, and we're going to make it happen. So, thank you.